Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. I got a generator I'm going to be working on this time. I know it's got a carb issue, and the reason I know that is it's not starting. It was backfiring through the carb. Generally with these generators, if you don't run them out of fuel, I recommend that you don't do the stable method. I recommend that you shut the fuel off, let it run out, and then drain the tank out. So we're gonna go ahead and take this one apart. I'm sure it's just a gummed up carb. Hopefully it's not too bad. These can get really bad depending on how long they've been sitting. Also, before I do this video, or before I take this carb apart, I wanted to mention, if you have one of these giving you problems, always check your oil level. These have a low oil sensor on them, and what will happen is if they're an ounce or two low, they're really sensitive. You got to make sure it's at the proper level, right at the top of the threads on a lot of these. It'll kill the spark. They'll do a lot of weird things. So number one with a generator, always check that. That's number one cause for concern. Once you're past that, it usually gets into fuel, but like everything else, you know, check your compression, check your spark. I know on this, I know exactly what it is. This doesn't have a lot of runtime on it. So with that being said, I'm gonna get things set up. I'm gonna get this carb off. I'll show you how to do it. It's one of those Chinesium carbs, so let's see what we can make of it. First things first here, air intake. Air filter box, it's gotta come off. I do need to drain the fuel out of this still. Always, when you're working on a generator, flush the fuel tank. A lot of these Chinese ones have metal tanks. Take a look in the bottom. See if there's a lot of rust in there. See how it looks. So with that being said, these are I believe these are 10 or 12 millimeters. Get these off. Get this, there's gonna be on this side, you're gonna have a crankcase vent right here. And you're gonna have the overflow, the vent, I should say, for your fuel tank. Get those off. Let me get these nuts off here, these two nuts, and I'll show you how this all comes apart. I gotta get the fuel line off, but first I gotta get this off. Down below on this one, you have a bracket down here. When you get that bolt out, that one's hiding. The guy mentioned to me that it was backfiring through the carb. Well, I believe it actually soaked the air filter and caught on fire. It's melted. A slight fire maybe, not sure. So alright, let me get this off. This is gonna be, these are 10 millimeters up front, 8 millimeters on the back side. It's a ratcheting wrench, boxed in, works great. Fix a lot of stuff with those. Be gentle when you pull this apart, guys. Try not to rip your gaskets. Yeah, there's definitely some stuff melted in here. Alright. Now we'll get the fuel line off this carb. I got the fuel off. I'm going to drain the tank off camera. Siphon it out, or I'll come up with something. Gonna need a flathead to get that off. Pay attention. It's very important on these to pay attention on how your gaskets go. Your orientation of your gaskets. Right here. All these gaskets. There's no gasket on the back side. It's on this plate. Make sure you pay close attention to that stuff. It will not run. Won't be happy putting it back together. It's a really simple generator to work on. A lot of these are. These Chinese ones are pretty simple. Man, that fuel line is really on there. Sometimes I'll even cut these lines and just replace them. It's easier. This one is really on there. Holy moly. It's your choke lever. I accidentally hit it. It's pretty self-explanatory how it goes in there. Sits like this. Just opens and closes the choke. Just like that. Alright, I'm gonna have to get this off camera. Alright guys, I got the fuel line off. That was a stubborn one. I'm trying to get the camera set up so you guys can see. Here's your throttle plate here. What you do is you hold, you slide it, you turn it, I should say. As you slide the carb off, you'll see that the governor rod, it'll lift up. It'll lift right out of there. See, as you slide it back, undo the spring, the carb slides right off. Doesn't get no easier than that. So these have a low idle circuit here. That's very important that you clean that, cause hunting and surging. I'm going to show you guys up on the bench here, taking this carb apart. Me 10 mil for the bottom. Sorry guys, I'm actually shooting another video for you too on a snowblower. So I got the parts laying over there. This nut off the bowl. This one doesn't look too bad, so let's see what we got inside the float bowl. This one isn't too bad. This one's pretty good. So with that being said, let me get it cleaned up. The gasket came off with the bowl. Slide your pin out for your float. Right here. Get your float out. And then down here you got your main jet. That's got to come out. I have this awesome screwdriver I got that works really good on these. These can be a bugger to get out once you get them loosened up. Sometimes you have to push them out from inside the carb. Or they can be a bugger to get out. I'm gonna have to get this one off camera, guys. It's really in there. Alright guys, this video is gonna be to be continued. These carbs are, I just looked them up, about 13 bucks. I had an extra main jet laying around in the shop. I always keep old carbs for stuff like this. So I tried to get this out with the easy out. I've done it before with these brass jets. A lot of times if you let them soak first, sometimes they'll break loose. It's the crud in there holding it in. These things are 13 bucks. It's not even worth the time. So I ended up snapping easy out in there. So this video is going to be continued. I'm going to order a carb right now for it, just to eliminate the problem. And honestly, if you're not too experienced with working on carbs and you have one of these, just order yourself a new carb for 13 bucks. That'll be a lot easier and cheaper. So this video will be continued as soon as I get the part. Looks like early next week. So, alright, we'll pick it up from there. And here we have it. 2 days later, we got a carb. So let's crack this open, see what we got, show you what I do with these things. Get that package out of here. I don't want to give out my address. I don't want to work on everybody's stuff. Here's your part number on that, guys. That's what I'm putting on that, so you can see it. Made in China. Comes with your gaskets. Comes with extra fuel line. And choke lever and your carb. So, that being said, we got the carb here. What I like to do with these Chinese carbs, actually really any carb nowadays, because a lot of them are junk, is I'll take and open up the bowl and just check. A lot of times when you get these new Chinese carbs, or these new carbs in general I should say, the float will actually be stuck on them, and once you put it all together it'll leak like hell until you get it unstuck. So let me show you what I do real quick. Grab a 10 millimeter. All I do is I take and crack this bowl open. I'm sorry guys, I had to move the generator up on my other bench. I got a mower here, you guys are gonna see it's a comeback. So all I do is just pop it open. I just look to make sure that my float is moving and my needle. It's hard to see on camera. You can see the needle in there moving up and down. So we're good. Good to go. You can see in the middle, there's the brass jet that broke on the other one. Sometimes they'll strip, sometimes you get lucky, soak them and they'll loosen up. For 13 bucks, guys, or 15 bucks, just put a new carb on it. All right, so the gaskets look really good on this, as you can see in there. So I'm not gonna monkey with them, I'm not gonna do anything with any of those. This is all the same carb. There's the old one, here's the new one. Nothing's different. The only thing is this adjustment screw on this one, they actually have it so you can adjust it. On this one, you'd have to cut a slit in it. It is there. They snap it off in the factory. It's for emissions. So if this was not running right, you could have cut a slot in there with a Dremel or some kind of saw blade. I've even used that small hacksaw, and you'll be able to turn that with a screwdriver. Okay, enough of that crap. Let's get this on. You're gonna slide it on. You got your governor rod right here. Once you slide the carb to a certain point right there, your governor rod will fall right into place. I know it's hard to see, your governor rod. Here's your spring. Take those little pliers I told you guys about that I have. Those little surgical pliers right here. They work great for the small springs. Just like that, springs in. Now, again, make sure your gaskets are good on this. All mine were good. There is a gasket behind this plastic plate, but it's bonded together. And this gasket, that gasket never broke a seal, so I know it's good. And if it leaks air, I'll show you how to fix it. We'll find out when we get her running. Okay, so we got that. Let me find the rest of the parts in this Mickey Mouse mess I got going on here, guys. We're crammed for space right now. I got 4 different projects I'm working on. So, okay, now here's your gasket here. That's gonna go on in this orientation right here. As you can see, all your holes will be exposed. So that's the orientation you're gonna want it. From there on out, I gotta drain the fuel. I'm just gonna let the line run in the tank. I'm doing that off camera. And then once you get that done, you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna put the air intake on. Just like that. I'll tighten these all up off camera. There's no need to show you guys how to do that. If you can figure out how to get the carb off, you can figure out how to tighten it back up. Just like that. Put the vent back in the carb for the crankcase, or the vent back in the intake, or the intake, I'm sorry, for the crankcase. Goes right in the intake. Take this clamp, squeeze it. That's your vent for your gas tank, for your overflow. Put that in. Okay, let me drain it off camera. I'll tighten these up. Governor's in, the choke rod just sits on top. Choke rod will snap in like so. Kind of just sits in there. It's got to snap in. I'm gonna have to mess with it. You could put the choke rod on before you put your put your air intake on. That one out of there, get the new one in. Just lays in there, guys. Okay, let's get that done, get this off the bench, and let's see if she'll fire up. Okay, guys, moment of truth. Let's see if it runs. The engine switch is on. Let me get the choke on. Alright guys, I just wanted to give you a quick update on that video that I shot with the generator. When I went to return the machine to the guy that I was working on it for, I started it like I always do before I return a machine, and it wouldn't start. It was backfiring and it was doing the same things that the guy brought it to me for. And I said, that's weird. I let it run for a half hour and it ran fine. It started fine after I went through the carb, and it did need the carb gone through anyway, which actually turned out to be replacing it. So, cut a long story short, I go through troubleshooting and the spark plug's loose. It's like just, I mean, barely in the cylinder. There's no blow by. There's no, I never seen a machine like this, all the ones I worked on, that didn't have a presence of blow by, didn't feel like low compression. The rope did feel a little soft, but these have a compression release, so I couldn't believe it. So I pulled the plug out thinking maybe the threads were screwed up. Nope. And like I said, I know the guy, so I asked him, and he said he never took the plug out. So the only thing I can think of is from the factory, this plug was not torqued. And also, it was one of those cheap plugs. I forget, I think it was a torch. And I grounded it on the side of the block, and the spark was just jumping all over. So obviously you could tell that it had not been running right probably the whole time since this machine was brand new. So I just wanted to say to you guys, when you guys are working on this stuff, especially for somebody else, check everything, you know. I didn't do a compression check. I didn't check the spark plug. You know, usually when you get a generator that's like that, brand new, low hours, it's generally always the carburetor that's plugged up. And this one did have a plugged up carb, but it was weird on the intake. I don't know if I showed you guys in the video, but the air filter housing was all like melted from backfiring. So obviously this machine was not running right ever since it came out of the box. But that's just a little update. I didn't get the diagnostics on video of finding out that it was the loose spark plug. But yeah, so there you have it, guys. Again, thanks for watching. It's kind of nice not being in the shop. I'm outside on the patio enjoying this nice weather we're finally getting in Michigan. We do need some rain though, but I got more coming on the Copart boat. I fished the muskie tournament. We didn't do no good on that. It was rough fishing. I did have the GoPro with me. Unfortunately, we didn't bring in a muskie. And I also got a ton of tackle to rig for the Copart boat. I really bought some nice stuff, so I can't wait to share that with you guys. And I also have another snowblower in the garage that I'm going to be going through. So once again, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, comment, you know, let me know if something you would have done different, or if you've seen this problem before with one of these Chinese generators. Alright guys, thank you.